Coming up, the first major electoral test in the 1988 presidential campaign, the Iowa Caucus. We'll have a recap. In other political news, it was down to the business of endorsements on both the state and national levels, and that morning cup of tea could be hazardous to your health. We'll explain as we bring you the Kentucky news, weather, and sports affecting you next.
Live from WBKO 13 Bowling Green, South Central Kentucky's #1 news service. This is News Center 13 at 10. Gene Burke with sports. Reg Taylor, weather. And with the news, Barb Dubczak.
Good evening. Political news dominates this Monday evening as Iowans gather to caucus. Some prominent Kentuckians throw out the endorsements. The political eye tonight, however, was on Des Moines, Iowa, where Kansas Senator Barb Dole has received a strong boost from Iowa Republicans in his campaign for the GOP presidential nomination. Well, the latest in this report.
Senator Robert Dole outpolled his rivals in the Republican caucuses tonight, but it was the Reverend Pat Robertson who may have won big here by finishing second. The former TV evangelist pushed Vice President George Bush into third place in a state he won 4 years ago. New York Congressman Jack Kemp finished fourth, and most observers figure that keeps his campaign alive. Former Delaware Governor Pierre DuPont was fifth. That may not have been enough. The others were a mere blip on the political radar screens. Everyone measures the results here against expectations. Dole was expected to win. Robertson's second-place finish could send shockwaves through the Republican Party and really throw the nomination thought to belong to Bush up for grabs. Over on the Democratic side, the process continues. It's much more drawn out, a series of alignments and realignments on the way to what will be a result. Whatever its shortcomings, Iowa's confusing caucus system has certainly tested the stamina of the candidates and their ability to put a campaign together.
If you're not willing to come here and organize, or you're not able to, why should I, as a voter, believe that you're capable of organizing this huge bureaucracy we call the U.S. government?
Today, right up until caucus time, the Democrats seem to have great expectations.
We're going to do well, and we're going to win tonight.
I can do well tonight and win in New Hampshire. We're going to be on our way.
We have the most viable campaign.
I feel very good about tonight. I sense that things are moving our way.
I intend to be in the thick of this race all the way to Atlanta.
This campaign will only get stronger the longer it goes.
And what's the political pundits' view of the main contenders? Missouri's Congressman Gephardt has invested so much time and money here, he has to finish well to be considered viable elsewhere. Senator Simon of neighboring Illinois must also finish in the top two or be a very close third to continue in the race. Since Massachusetts Governor Dukakis should do well in New Hampshire, he can finish third here without being badly hurt. For Governor Babbitt of Arizona, third would be as good as a win in terms of momentum, what's called here the Big Mo. And after tonight, well, Iowans pocket the $40 million that have been spent here, and the candidates grab what's left of their wallets and their chances and head for New Hampshire. Jerry King, ABC News, Des Moines.
Noticeably absent from tonight's Iowa caucus was Republican Alexander Haig and Tennessee Senator Albert Gore. Gore, who bypassed Iowa in his campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination. Senator Gore, who likened the Iowa gatherings to a roulette game, chose instead to go with a sure thing, namely the endorsement of Kentucky Governor Wallace Wilkinson. During a morning news conference in Washington, Wilkinson said Gore has the best answers to the problems of a rural state like Kentucky.
I enthusiastically endorse Senator Al Gore in the Democratic process and later on in moving him into the White House. And I know Senator will be successful.
Thank you, Governor.
Yep.
Appreciate it very much. I'm very grateful for your endorsement. This means a tremendous amount. In fact, this means that I can look forward on March the 8th with your help and with our friends in Kentucky helping to getting more delegates in Kentucky on March 8th than the top three finishers combined in Iowa.
Following this morning's announcement in the nation's capital, Wilkinson and Gore flew to the state capitol to repeat the announcement. In the western part of the state, another endorsement was taking place. This time it was former Governor Julian Carroll throwing his support in the 1st District congressional race to Madisonville businessman Lacey Smith.
Western Kentucky. And it's my pleasure to give you my strong personal commitment to what I believe will be the hardest working congressman in our lifetime for the 1st District of Kentucky, Lacey Smith.
I strongly believe, as the governor says, that a congressman can do something to bring jobs, more and better jobs, to his area. You can't do it overnight. There's no quick fix method, but there are things that we can do, that we can start.
Smith is challenging Democratic incumbent Congressman Carroll Hubbard in the 1st District primary election, and this won't be the first time that Julian Carroll has seen fit to endorse Hubbard's opponent in a race. Back in 1979, when Hubbard ran for governor, Carroll favored Terry McBrayer in that race. But Hubbard says and sums it up to the business of politics.
For the millionaire Jim Smith. Lacey Smith and Jim Smith are business partners. It's not really that surprising, but it's disappointing that a man that I have helped in the past will, for the 2nd time, be endorsing my opponent. But that's politics. We can still get 82% on May the 24th, just as we did last time, regardless of some of the endorsements.
And Hubbard says despite Carroll's endorsement of Smith, he remains sure that he will have a victory. Now that the work of 2 citizens panels is essentially complete, lawmakers in Frankfort will soon be receiving suggestions for election reform. But already some of those suggestions to be placed on the General Assembly's agenda have come under criticism. A recommendation to select precinct officials randomly from computer lists has met with disapproval from some county court clerks.
We already have a problem with people not wanting to register to vote because they're afraid they'll be selected to serve on a jury. And there would be a problem with people taking their name off the registration list to keep from being election officers.
And though the clerks have problems with some specific suggestions, Chapman says the group is not opposed to the idea of election reform. The Department of Education has reversed its stand and favors scrapping the Kentucky Essential Skills Test for an exam that would accurately compare Kentucky students with the rest of the nation. The most frequent criticism of the test was that performance scores tended to be inflated. United Mine Workers Union members vote on a proposed new contract with the Coal Operators Association, the outcome when we return. And your attempt to give up caffeine by switching to tea may actually be harmful to your health. We'll have that story and more still ahead.